Hello guys, welcome back to our audiobook series, and today we're just going to continue reading. So, hope you enjoy. Legends Turn to Ash. Chapter 10. A Camaraderie. As consciousness fought its way back, I felt a cold, bumpy floor below me. My head pounded as if a stampede of elephants had trampled it, and my neck was sore from laying in my current position. I opened my eyes and saw nothing but darkness, and a slight rim of light shining behind me, so I could only assume that I was wearing a mask of some kind. It wasn't long before I realized a chain was coiled around my body, tightly trapping my hands to my sides and restricting any movement. Based on the bone-shaking, jolting movement below me, there was no doubt I was in some mode of transportation. The only limbs on my trembling figure that I could move were my legs. Focusing all my mental and physical power on the muscles in my legs, I rose to a wobbling stance. Oh great, where in the world am I now? I can't see anything, and it's freezing in here. I hear a loud humming noise, and it smells like sweat. Ew. What happened? My whole body hurts. I remember seeing these weird tall men, but I don't know what happened after that. Great job, Whisper. You failed once again. Okay, thanks, subconscious me. That totally makes me feel a whole lot better. Am I seriously talking to myself right now? Maybe those guys guessed a little more than I thought. Out of nowhere, it felt like I tilted 180 degrees. I couldn't stop myself from being thrown against the side wall. The cold, rusty chain dug into my skin, pinching and scraping even more as I rolled on the floor. Ow! I yelled, trying to maneuver myself into a position where the chain wasn't pinching my skin. With the worst timing ever, a large unknown object crashed into me, knocking me onto the cold floor. Ugh, it moaned. Not again. Why does everyone plow into me? Wait, I know that voice. I could pinpoint that pathetic, ungrateful moan anywhere. I was hoping that he wouldn't be the first person I would run into. Honestly, I don't feel like being murdered by him yet. Why is he here, though? I thought he was left in the town. Jacer? I blindly called out, trying to confirm it was him. Is that you? The silence creeped me out, but eventually I heard another moan slowly fade into an angry growl. What the heck? Where am I? Get these stupid chains off me. I let out a sigh of relief, not only for the fact that he was safe, but for the sheer joy I felt knowing he was chained up and had the chance to calm down a bit. He hesitated for a moment, then jumped to his feet with a loud thud. Wait a second. Whisper, I'm pretty sure that was your half-witted voice. Whisper, Jacer, my dudes, we ended up together again, Asher shouted. I couldn't help but smile. You guys, I'm so glad you're safe. Sorry about this. I had no idea we were being followed. Even being in their presence made me feel a whole lot better. All right, let's get these chains off. How? Asher asked. Well, if I can freeze the piece behind me, then you can smash it with some sort of fire kick, I responded confidently, maybe a little cocky. So, what am I supposed to do? Jacer rudely interrupted. Almost instinctively, I answered, nothing really. I mean, lightning and electricity doesn't really help us in our situation. Asher, you ready? Moving what fingers I could, I managed to tap the chain around me just long enough to send a powerful burst of ice straight through, freezing it solid. Okay, I'll try not to kick you accidentally. Whisper, sorry if I do, Asher said cautiously. All I could hear was Asher quickly standing up, and then I felt a quick burning sensation against my skin as the chain shattered and fell to the floor. As I took off my blindfold, I noticed that Asher and Jacer were both covered in scratches and bruises from the fight from earlier. The section we were in was completely empty, but the surroundings were familiar enough for me to recognize that we were in the back of a small cargo plane. It all made sense now. The humming, the cold temperature, and even the sweat. The sweat was mostly coming from Jacer, but I counted it. Asher, heat up your chain so I can try breaking it, I said quickly. He struggled for a moment, but eventually he turned the chain into a steaming string of rust. Encasing my hand in ice, I punched the chain and watched it crumble to the floor. All right, let's try it at the same time for Jacer. As Asher was taking off his blindfold, I couldn't help but wonder if Jacer was sane enough right now to be released. Then again, Jacer has never been the most rational of sorts. Simultaneously, we attacked the chain using our powers, then untied his blindfold. About time, he said as he leaned against the wall, accidentally flipping a switch. What was that? I sighed and my eyes burst open, recognizing what he had done. That is definitely not good. Grab onto something, and hurry! But there's nothing to grab, Asher said, startled and confused. Slowly, the hatch of the plane began to open, granting permission for the vacuum-like wind to enter. With all of our might, we gripped the floor, but it was no use. We were sliding toward the opening, toward the clear blue sky and the ocean below. The only thing I could think to do was to grab Jacer and Asher. The wind brushed against our faces until at last we couldn't feel the floor below us. I held to their hands as tightly as I could as we fell from thousands of feet in the air. I'm sorry, just hang on to me, I screamed against the wind. Asher looked terrified, but he was happy to be back with his friends. I'm scared. We're going to fall in the ocean and die. Why do I have to die with you fools? Wait, this is kind of fun. I should jump out of planes more often, Jacer yelled. No one's dying. Well, at least I hope not, I screamed once more. Jacer shook his head and pointed with his other hand down toward the ocean. What do you mean no one's dying? Do you not see how fast we're reaching the ocean? At this speed, we'll hit like cement, Asher nervously added. I pinched my eyes shut, trying to avoid what was to come. We can't die here. We have to save the Earth. I know she's out there. I know that sound. Before he fell off the plane, it may have been faint, but that was definitely her. I know for a fact I heard Elzora's wing beats. Elzora! I shouted as loud as I could and hoped that my voice would reach hers. Even when times are tough, or when she says she may hate me, I couldn't help but become dependent on her. Even then, she showed up. No matter what it was, she was there to protect us, because that's what she is, a protector. I could hear her release her majestic roar as she dived toward us, a couple 100 feet above the ocean. It took a few seconds, but once my chest collided with scales, I was confident that we were saved. Somehow, I was the only one who landed on her back. I peered over her side only to see Asher and Jacer hanging in each of her claws like helpless kittens held by the scruff of their necks. She soared into the sky for a moment and then paused, struggling to stay airborne. You people are too heavy, she shouted as she desperately flapped her wings in the air. Who you calling heavy? Jacer yelled, waving a fist toward her. Don't drop us, please, Asher pleaded, trying to grab onto her arm with both hands. Elzora spread her wings into a downward glide and argued, I can't carry you all. Undoubtedly, you frozen eel. I can never comprehend your unbelievable weakness. The familiar smug voice of Zephyr followed behind. Elzora snapped and turned around just to pick another fight. What did you call me, you tiny sparkler? Just come and help me already. I guess I can take my brat off your hands, quite literally. Zephyr shrugged as he glided down next to Elzora, tossing Asher onto his back. Come on, guys, don't fight, Oogie said, following behind Zephyr. Jacer, are you all right? Hey, chicken, there you are. Why did you run off? Jacer replied, trying to sound casual. I'm truly sorry, but we're back now, so don't worry, okay? Oogie replied shyly. Quickly leveling herself out, Elzora slapped me with her ear and growled. What in the world were you thinking back there? You're lucky there weren't any casualties. Oh, and why were you on a plane? Wait, no, let's rephrase that. Why were you falling from a plane, you useless human? I'm sorry, I know I messed up. So I'm sorry, I won't let that guy take control of my mind ever again. I refuse. Please forgive me, Elzora. All of you, I'm sorry. I apologized. As for why we were falling, well, we kind of got kidnapped, and then Jacer leaned on the switch that opened the hatch to the plane, which leads us to now. Oh, I see. So that's your excuse this time. I guess I can forgive you for. Wait, what? Go back. What do you mean mind controlled? How the heck were you kidnapped? When could you have possibly been captured? We weren't gone for that long, she yelled, frustrated and confused. Roland, the guy on the island, he said yeet a lot, which really should have been the first warning sign. Anyways, he drugged the guys over there and then went after me. I was kind of exploring the building at the time. Oops. He used this weird device to control me, and that was the last I remembered until I met you guys. I tried to explain. Well, great. Now I can't yell at you like I was totally planning to do. It was only partially your fault. Mind controlling? How was that even possible? Whatever. I can't worry about that right now. Explain the kidnapping ordeal, she ordered, more confused than before. I don't know how to explain it. I was just walking along, talking with the others, and these tall guys in suits knocked me out with a gas grenade. I answered. Jacer stepped in. Same. I should have killed them all, but they caught me off guard. They really had the upper hand on us, Asher added. Ugi looked back with a worried face. Are you sure you're all right, Jacer? Chicken, there's no reason why I wouldn't be, Jacer answered, happy to be back. How foolish you humans are, Zephyr stated, superior and smug as always. Seriously, we can't leave you alone for a whole day without you causing any trouble. I wonder who those humans were, Alzora said. Oogie flew closer toward me and politely asked, Whisper, do you happen to know where we're going next? As a matter of fact, I do. I guess somebody caught what looks to be a dragon on camera, but no one is sure what it really was. I looked a bit more into it, and I guess it was a large, feathered, four-legged animal? I think it might be that feather dragon Zephyr mentioned earlier, so why not check it out, right? I said confidently, ignoring Zephyr's and Alzora's negative comments from before. Alzora rolled her eyes as if she thought it was really a stupid idea. So what if it's a dragon? How's that going to help us take down the OSI? Come on, I expected more from you. I flailed my arms in the air and argued with her. What? Okay. Think about it this way. I mean, this dragon must have been living fine without your hidden dragon village's help, so maybe he knows how to defend himself against that organization. Besides biting their heads off? Zephyr interrupted. Shh, I shushed him. No, I mean, maybe he knows enough about them to avoid them. He might even know where their main headquarters is, you know? So why not try it, right? Unsure of himself, Oogie asked his question. But is the OSI really the cause of all these unnatural phenomena? Indeed, it is troubling to think that a single group of measly humans can deplete the oceans, erupt volcanoes, and initiate earthquakes, Zephyr added. He does have a point, but what else could be causing it? After all, they do have weapons that suck out a dragon's power and use against others. Whatever. Where's the feather dragon? Alzora asked. Oh, yeah, I know it was in a mountain area. Cameron? Oh, Cameroon. I was lucky to remember the name. It had completely slipped my mind. Where the heck is that? She asked as she rose into the sky. I think it's Central Africa. How many large green jungles with lush mountains can there be in Africa? I tried to answer her question to the best of my ability. Quite a decent amount, actually, Zephyr said, shooting my reasoning down. Oh, well, just head south. We'll get there eventually, I yelled, pointing south. We flew in that direction until the pink and orange skies of dusk greeted us, which took about 8 hours. Are we almost there? Asher complained. Why don't you just try sleeping to pass the time? That's what Jacer is doing, I said kindly, pointing to Jacer, who was snoozing on Oogie's shell. I tried, but Zephyr's flames keep getting too hot, he added, kind of embarrassed. Well, I apologize. I cannot help being a dragon, you petty human, Zephyr grunted in frustration. Azora tightly turned in her direction toward the nearest landmark and dived downward. My wings hurt. We're going to spend the night here, whether you like it or not. Fine by me, I mumbled in exhaustion. However, I didn't really feel I had the right to be exhausted since Elzora and the others were the ones who had been flying all day. The three of them glided toward the landmark, and the closer we got, the more I noticed that there weren't many places to hide. Sand dune mountains covered the land in a way that made the ground look like a muddy sand ocean. I guess Elzora spotted an area before me because she took a sharp turn and headed toward a crater-like area surrounded by hills. This'll work, she said as she curled up in a ball and closed her eyes. You're already asleep? I whispered at her. Soon Zephyr did the same, and Asher crawled up next to him and fell asleep as well. Oogie gently placed Jacer on the cold, hard dirt and curled up around him. I couldn't help but smile. We were all so tired, but at least now we were together. Better yet, we didn't have a problem sleeping so close to each other. Nobody complained about it all this time. Slowly I sat next to Elzora and leaned back onto her perfectly coiled tail. The stars above us seemed so different from the back home. Even so, I didn't feel like I was that far away. Maybe it was because we'd been traveling so much. Today was pretty weird, I guess. Waking up blindfolded in a small plane was an awful start to the day. Then I had to go through the whole embarrassment of apologizing to everyone. Speaking of which, I'm glad that I didn't accidentally wipe out the dragon species. That would have been horrible. But it all turned out okay, so that's good. No one even yelled at me or made fun of me. Well, not any more than they usually do. Maybe they knew my apology was sincere? I don't know. I'm so happy to be back with them. What happened to me? I can't even go a day without them now. Is that just how much our relationship with each other has grown? I can't help but feel that everyone else felt the same way. I missed you guys, I mumbled as I turned to the side, tumbling into my dreams. It barely felt like we had slept at all when the sun peeked its warm face over a hill, waking us up. Tiny grains of sand flew off the hills, carried in the wind to who knows where. It was unusual for me to be the first one up and awake, but all my friends lay behind me, still sound asleep. I could only assume that it was extra early and that we were in Africa since the sun was just barely rising into the cold, sleepy sky. I watched over my friends, like a tiny guard dog who thinks she's strong enough to take on the whole world, until they awoke. It wasn't long before we were ready to, once again, continue our flight. The land below us switched between mountains, empty safaris, and forests, but eventually we reached what I thought to be Cameroon. A lush green forest stretched for miles, and tall mountains rose from the earth. The area itself smelled sweet and was calming. The first thing I noticed was a big waterfall that poured into a muddy brown river. It flowed from the tallest mountain in the forest, and the top of it was unusually flat. Oddly, a rough basketball court and a small house were built there. As we prepared to land, a beam of light shot right past Elzora and I, almost piercing us. Whoa, what the heck was that? I yelled. Who goes there? Friend or, foe? You're friends, right? Please say friends. A feathered dragon asked as he rose into the sky toward us. His body had irregular bright blue and light purple scales, but his chest plates were a bold yellow with dark blue, green, white, and purple feathers poking out from them. His wings were made of complete mix of bright purple, blue, green, and white feathers as well. His voice had a gentle tone, not too high, not too low. It was welcoming. I think so, I replied instinctively. Oh, good. I'm not one for attacking others. What brings you here, my dear friends? He smiled. Vetus, a teenage boy called from below, purposely enforcing a voice crack when he called. Who are you talking to? I couldn't help but yell back at the boy. Me, Cow? What on earth are you doing here? Hey, Whisper. Long time no see. Oh, you know, saving the world from high taxes and stuff, he shouted happily. Doesn't look like it from up here, I replied and laughed a bit. Will you two stop shouting? You're hurting my ears, Elzora growled. After landing, I jumped off Elzora and ran over to Mika. He was about 5'4" in height, with dirty blonde hair and an extremely short beard. He wore a brown sweatshirt and gray sweatpants. I am too. Vetus here is helping me, he argued playfully. Really? Now, how was he doing that? I asked, as if I were winning. Not to interrupt you two lovebirds or anything, but how do you know each other? Elzora said. Jacer jumped off Oogie and nodded. I want to know too. Childhood friends? He left a couple of years ago on a mission to save the world from high taxes, but from what I see, it doesn't look like he's gotten that far, I answered. Whoa. How did you meet Vetus? How long have you known him? How in the world did you get caught in this dragon mess? I asked. He shrugged and gave a lame answer. I was traveling last year and saw him hiding in the city. He liked basketball, so we just started hanging out. But he's a dragon. How do dragons even play basketball? I asked, confused. Not sure, but he's pretty good at it, he said. I sighed. There was no way I was going to understand that logic. Oh yeah, Vetus, do you know anything about the OSI? Oh, that group? Well, I know their base is like an hour south of here. Stay away from them. They're like pure evil. Lately, they've been kidnapping dragons and stealing their natural power. I have been keeping my eye on them from here, but there isn't much I can do. Instead, I'm trying to help out with your tax problem, Vetus said. Would you like to come and help us invade their base? Meow, I guess you're invited too, I asked, excited that we might finally have some backup on our missions. This'll be awesome. If we can get some backup, then there's no way that group can take us down. No, thank you. He politely declined. Shocked, I couldn't help but ask why. Wait, what? But the Earth is dying. Don't you want to help save it? Why not help us? I don't like violence, really. I'm sorry. Vetus apologized. Well, there you have it. I guess we stay on our current mission. Meow jumped in. Hey, anyone up for a game of basketball before you go? Azora's eyes fired up with determination. I don't understand how most of your human games work, but the ball just needs to go in the basket, right? You're going down. Dragons against humans? Asher questioned, worried. This is going to be awesome, Jacer said as he made some practice shots. I suck at this game, I mumbled to myself. The only good players on our team were Meow and Jacer. Occasionally, they would pass the ball to Asher and me, and I would make a couple shots. The atmosphere was tense, as the score evened up, but it felt like this was a good way to relieve all the stress we had. Every time the ball flew toward Oogie, he ducked, threw his talons over his head, and accidentally knocked the ball out of bounds with his tail, giving us a free shot. Zora and Zephyr simultaneously yelled at him when he did that, while Vetus just laughed in the background, secretly feeling bad for Oogie. The main rule of the game was no flying, and with such a small court, the dragons couldn't help but trip on each other's tails. I personally favored the rule of not having to dribble, because I was terrible at that. Every minute or so, both Meow and Asher would have to step down to tie their shoes. I didn't understand how boys' shoes could come untied so quickly. Everyone there looked like they were having fun and enjoying themselves, and that made me overjoyed. We took the game up to about 30 points eventually, and we decided to cut it off at 32. It was a pretty even match most of the way, but at last we had a winner, the humans. I felt a little embarrassed because throughout the game, Zephyr would accidentally set the ball on fire and Elzora would have to put it out. Somehow the ball managed to survive the whole game, but I had no idea how. Mikau and I high-fived and jokingly bragged about our win to Elzora and Zephyr, which made them mad. I guess we should probably go now, though, and save the world, I said, sad because I didn't want to leave. Yeah, that's probably best. I guess I should stay up here and keep an eye on the government so I can find a way to save the world from high taxes, he answered, equally disappointed. As we mounted Elzora and the others and took off, I turned and waved goodbye to Vetus and Mikau. Goodbye. Thanks for all the fun. Good luck on your mission. They both waved back at us and shouted, You too. Bye. It was strange. As we left, I couldn't help but watch as Vetus peered at the grass around the court and spread his wings. Slowly, all the flowers, of all colors, sprung through the soil and waved in the wind. Vetus turned once more and locked eyes with me. I couldn't help but wonder why his eyes were so sad. He was clearly smiling and waving goodbye, but his eyes told a completely different story. Was there something I missed, or was it just because he hadn't seen his own kind in such a long time? Whatever it was, it gave me an uneasy feeling. As we grew nearer and nearer to our destination, I could see a previously dormant volcano fuming, and the ground lightly shaking. Dark clouds loomed over the sky and refused to leave. Lightning aimlessly struck around us, and thunder barreled through the skies. We didn't have much time left. If we were going to save the world, we would need to do it now. Alright guys, that's it for this chapter, and I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you'll join us next time. But for now, see ya!